Thank you. So it's my pleasure now to host a session with policymakers. As you know, each time we spoke about initiative for the past 3 years, we had the great ideas coming from you. We had many commitments coming from the private sector. But what was very important is to get commitment from policymakers. So it's my great pleasure to moderate a session for the next 20 minutes with 4 sport ministers. So I'm calling on stage to join me for this great session His Excellency Mr. Saber BOUATAY, Minister of Youth, Sport and Women of Tunisia. Monsieur le ministre, si vous voulez bien me rejoindre. I am calling on stage His Excellency Minister Matar, Minister of Sport of Senegal. Monsieur le ministre, si vous voulez bien nous rejoindre. I'm calling His Excellency José Aldo REBELO, Minister of Sport of Brazil. Monsieur le ministre. And last but not least, I'm calling on stage His Excellency Mr. Blaise LOUEMBE, Minister of Youth and Sport of Gabon, the Republic Gabonese. Monsieur le ministre. So, the session will be switching between French and English, so you can keep your headsets if you want. Okay, so His Excellency Minister of Youth, Sport and Women of Tunisia will speak also in Arabic, just for you to be absolutely informed and to keep your headsets. Monsieur le Ministre, la Tunisie vient de vivre un moment très important.
Tunisia is now our last Sunday. Tunisia finished the parliamentary elections and the Tunisians, or Tunisia has given a new lesson in democracy after the Arab Spring. So now you are in a transition period, which is very important. Do you think that sports, so are you able to use sport to unify the Tunisian people? Sports in all over the world has a unifying role, and it is being used as a unifying model. I will use only one example. After the revolution, there was a fight between 2 tribes or 2 families, and the fight has gone for a long time. And there was no municipality in that city because the 2 tribes were fighting, or the 2 great families were fighting together, and the sports club was promoted to a better league, and all the fans came to applaud the club, and the fans met in the stadium, and the families get reunified again. And the people of this city, they asked the president of the club to become the president, to become the mayor of the municipality. In the past also there were many problems in Tunisia among the politicians, but I'll give you another example. For example, in the previous years, the football games unified the Tunisians. The Shan, which is an African competition for the non-professionals, gave us a lesson that sports can play a unifying role. And that might help us believe in the role of sport as a catalyst of change. Mr. Minister, what are the most important sports projects in Tunisia? Since I became the Minister of Sports, I had a dream since 2009. I had a dream to have a dialogue among all the leagues and the presidents of club and sportsmen and women. We surveyed all the areas of weakness and areas of success. We call it the sport and sports, because today we are in most of the media stages, we are talking, and as politicians, we talk about sport, but we don't talk about sport as a value. And this explains why we are having some discrimination and some racist trends nationally, and because we didn't give sport the right place and the right value. Sport without S so sport is important for all countries, and in some countries we have to have a strong belief in sport, and that's why we call it the sport and sports, because we believe in the activities more than the values. Of course, he's using French, so in French we have sport and sports. Nobody's talking about female sports. And in Tunisia, we signed a contract necessitating that there should be no discrimination against women. And for this reason, we are asking for a better judgment of the role of women. So in Tunisia, we are strengthening the role of female sports. And for that reason, there will be a forum in December that will group the best experts in order to put the right strategy, the right sports strategy for sports and sport. Sport as a value, and I am so happy to be in Doha and to be taking part in this forum, because we are talking about the values of sport. Thank you. نتمنى أنه في المؤتمرات القادمة سنرى.
Monsieur le ministre LOUEMBE, le Gabon a accueilli la Coupe d'Afrique des Nations, comme l'a souligné son Excellence le Président de la
Arabic.
République. Est un nouveau candidat pour 2017. Comment vous expliquez cette envie d'avoir en si peu de temps, je dirais, des grandes compétitions comme la Coupe d'Afrique? Qu'est-ce que ça apporte au pays?
Nous répondons à la volonté du peuple. Vous savez, nous avons fait une première CAN en 2012. Nous avons eu une visibilité internationale. Nous avons eu des performances économiques et sociales. Et là, nous l'avons fait avec notre voisin, la Guinée équatoriale. Maintenant, nous voulons faire une CAN à nous-mêmes parce que nous pensons que nous sommes en mesure de le faire. Et je suis persuadé que la CAN que nous allons faire en 2017 va avoir des rebondissements plus élevés que celle de 2012.
Qu'est-ce que ça apporte dans les populations comme enthousiasme?
Vous ne pouvez pas savoir. Le football est un élément fédérateur. Il n'y a jamais eu une cohésion aussi importante lorsque nous avons fait la CAN 2012. Il n'y a jamais eu autant de drapeaux gabonais portés par les populations. Volonté de montrer son image, sa volonté derrière 11.
So, we think that the belief in sport should have the support of the decision makers. And we want to host the CAN of 2017. We want the young to get more involved in sports. And we want to set up a model of inspiration and success. We want to give the chance for the sportsmen and sportswomen to, if you are good in sports, you can get a scholarship. And this is the factor that can keep the people protected. What about the infrastructure developed by Gabon? If we multiply the symposia and the meetings, and this will permit these sports institutions, which means that hosting such events will provide us with the possibility to help our sportsmen meet with the cream of the cream. We want to host also the African Cup Nations of Youth. Mr. Minister of Sports in Senegal, you used to be goalkeeper and used to be a school principal. How does a country like Senegal, that will host the 15th symposium of the Francophone countries, what do you do in Senegal to foster the importance of sports? And what is the budget being assigned or being given to the Ministry of Sports? It's always a problem for the developing countries in order to have the right funds. But what we have to understand, when we understand what can sport do for the development of a country, we will then understand how important the importance of sponsoring and financing the sports infrastructure. In Senegal, as you may be aware, there is an important place for the sports infrastructure, because to have a good... So what you need an infrastructure that will help you achieve your goals. And for Senegal, we don't have to wait for the international events to build the sports infrastructure, but we have to get this ready even before the building or before taking part in international events. And so we need to take care of the federations. I will speak about this, but so we would like to see how you made, what did you make to make some sports very important? So you have a special sport there that went beyond frontier. So, in some cases, the sport is extremely important, like basketball. So there are different sports in Senegal, especially la lutte, as we say it in French. We were able to export by insisting on formation and on the character. So I think we work with the right partners in order to see how we can solidify the importance of this sport and how you can take care of someone, keep the high level of determination. Mr. REBELO. أولا
This organization. I had the pleasure to be in your country, in your amazing country for the World Cup. Lessons that you took from this amazing event today. After 3-4 months of the World Cup, what are the lessons taken from the World Cup?
Thank you very much. I'm gonna answer in Portuguese. An event such as the World Cup leaves very important lessons for the country. First of all, is that the World Cup doesn't have any mystery. The World Cup doesn't have any secrets. The World Cup has a lot of work from the first to the last day. Another lesson is that the World Cup asks you to profit all the time available. Time is the only asset that you cannot replace when you lose. So you have to take advantage of all the time you have so that all the events and all the tests are developed, and so that when you arrive on the day for the opening ceremony, you have all the things set up. A third session for us in Brazil is that it is need of big integration among all the actors involved in the World Cup. In Brazil, we had the federal government with an executive committee coordinated by the Ministry of Sports. We had a representative of the local committee of the World Cup, the FIFA's committee, but the Brazilian government has a secretary of the Ministry of Sports present at the meetings of the local committee. We also joined partnerships with the private sectors, which was building the states and other participations in the World Cup. Brazil is a huge country. We had 12 cities hosting games, so we really needed a huge integration with all the local governments so that this integration would allow you to anticipate problems in the organization of such an event. And so anticipating the problems, you would also anticipate the solutions. You don't wait the problem to come up, and then only after some time you get to know it, and after another time you will study it, and then another time later you will find out the solution, when sometimes the solution doesn't have any meanings anymore. So you have to anticipate the problems and the solutions.
You are hosting the Olympics in 2016. It's not too much to have